Want to welcome to the program a good friend of ours, been on a few times. I think the first time in studio, though. He's the House Majority Leader, Steve Scalise. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Well, thank you for having me in your fancy gig over here.
Yeah,
nice digs.
I know. I think we've only done this over Zoom and stuff.
Yeah, and y'all came to the Capitol a few years ago.
That's
it was
right.
great to have y'all at our office, but nice to meet yours.
Listen, you got a lot going on.
A few things, yeah.
And you notice that like the temperament of everybody at the end of the year gets a little shaky.
I think, look, breaks are really good. Christmas break is necessary. You know, Schumer would always want these end-of-year Christmas Eve omnibuses, and we're like, stop this foolishness. He might not like his family. I want to be home with my family during Christmas, and we don't need to be around each other during Christmas. There'll be food fights.
Yes.
And so, we've got some really, really big things to do before the end of the year, but then everybody go home for Christmas, love your family. And then we'll come back at it right after. But we're going to do some big things in the next few weeks. We've been doing some really big things.
Been doing some
with the
big
narrowest
things.
majority that we've maybe ever had. So it means every day is going to be a journey and an exciting day. It's like no day is boring.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about a few things here. One, sort of what you're up to here for the next month. And then prospectively, over the campaign season, what it is that you guys are talking about. Healthcare clearly is a piece of that. But right now, you guys are dealing with this NIL situation in the House. And I know we sat down back in spring, I guess early spring, maybe late winter, with the heads of the four major conferences and an awful lot of others. We're talking about the importance of all of that. I know you guys are trying to do something about it. How do we feel about it?
Yeah, this is one of many big issues that we've been dealing with. There are 3 committees of jurisdiction that have, frankly, been working on this for a few years. And this goes back years where, over a long time, lawsuits have eroded the ability for the schools to govern themselves. And that's really the heart of the issue, is like you had the NCAA, whether you like them or not, having an entity that governs college athletics has always been the case, but they've lost that ability. It's been eroded through mostly lawsuits that they've lost to where today it's the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And this isn't about whether or not athletes get paid. That genie's out of the bottle. Putting structure in NIL, I think, is something everybody wants. Student athletes have no protections. We put those in place in this bill. Guardrails for even the agents. There's a lot of unscrupulous people out there approaching kids in high school, juniors in high school, getting signed up to deals they don't even know, take away their rights for 10 years. We limit those things and give the student athletes real rights, better protections that they don't have. We protect, for example, women's sports, Olympic sports. The U.S. Olympic Committee just came out in support of this bill because a lot of our Olympians who win gold medals, do great things, come through the college ranks, and we will preserve that here too. But it's really allowing, again, not Congress governing student athletics, it's Congress giving the schools the ability to govern themselves again, so they can have rules of the road. Everybody wants it. All the major conferences support it. The HBCUs came out in support of it. And it's, you're a big school, medium school, you want to be in a different conference. That's a fight for another day.
Somebody else's
solve
problem.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is just allowing the schools to govern themselves again. Look, millions of people go and enjoy college athletics. 100,000 people will go into different stadiums every weekend and enjoy the games. They just want sports. You want a referee that's honest. You want the governing authorities to be able to be effective at having rules that can be enforced. Kids that can transfer every year and play till they're 28 years old. Is that really what we want? It used to be the case where you had limits on that.
Yeah.
Lawsuits evaporated all of that. You put structure back in place. That's what the bill does.
No, I think it's really smart. I mean, we've talked to a lot of folks who have discussed about all kinds of a hodgepodge of different state rules that sort of try to advantage their own. Obviously, everybody's got a rooting interest in their own home state school, as you do.
Sure.
No question about it. But this provides sort of a rules of the road.
Yeah, fair set of rules for everybody. Still, schools are going to still go out there and try to get the best players, and schools are figuring out how they can put NIL money on the table. That's all still in play. It's just, can you have enforceable rules?
Yeah.
And that's what this does. And again, that's why all the schools, all 12 schools that'll be competing against themselves for a national title support this bill. So it's not like this gives my school an advantage over that school. It's about just allowing everybody to play under the same set of rules.
So what's the impediment to getting this done? Because I know that the Democrats were whipping against this
Which is
legislation,
shocking.
the SCORE Act. And I'm curious, do you think you can get to daylight on this thing? And what are their objections, and how can we rectify that sort of thing?
Yeah, we're getting close to getting there. Some people want the student athletes to be employees of the school.
Crazy
I tell
to
you, a
me.
lot of student athletes don't want
Yeah.
that. They're like, hey, look, I'm a student, and I'm going to go out in the real world and do some other things later on. And if I get my own NIL deal, the school isn't getting that from me, and they shouldn't be able to stop me. So, we specifically say in the bill they can't be employees of the school by virtue of being a student athlete.
Is that all about just trying to unionize the situation?
I think it is. I think they just want to unionize them. But regardless, we still have some Democrats that support it. But the Democrat leadership has been whipping against it. But at the end of the day, we're building the coalition. We're really close to getting there, and we're going to move the bill and eventually pass it.
I'm glad to hear that. That's forward progress.
Well, we're on the topic of sports. I got to ask you, because I know you're an LSU guy. Lane Kiffin hire.
Yeah.
How you
let's
feeling?
do that.
I'm excited about it. Obviously my friends in Mississippi, I don't know if they're still my friends. I think they are. Look, we went through a lot of gyrations on this thing. It was excruciating to fire. Nobody wants to have to fire a coach, especially when you have to pay $54 million for that coach to leave. But once it happened, it's like, okay, we need to get, a coach that gives us a chance to win a national title again. I mean,
These are what
I've
you do with
seen,
Baton Rouge.
we had 3 of the last 4 coaches now won a national title, and Lane coming in is going to be able to have that opportunity, and I think he really wants that. Look, you can tell it was a hard decision for him. He had to leave a team that is going to be in the final 12, and he did it because he knows the infrastructure's there at LSU, again, to win a national title. 3 of the last 4 guys did it that had that job. 2 of the last few Heisman trophies came out of LSU with Joe Burrow.
Oh, no, we're going to get him started
Here
on
we
Ohio
go.
and Joe
So you've got a lot
He's
of really good
Cincinnati
infrastructure
guy,
Let's not do the
there.
Bengals
Yeah.
thing. This
Burrow's
is
a great quarterback.
Just a little side tidbit, by the way. Not only did I graduate from LSU with a degree in computer science, I lived in Tiger Stadium. It used to be a dormitory.
Did you
Today
really?
it's offices.
Really?
It used to be a dormitory. And so the north side of Tiger Stadium, I lived there my second year at LSU, and right across the street was Mike the Tiger's cage. So at like 7 in the morning, you get woken up with this loud growl of a tiger, a real tiger. Mike the Tiger was my wake-up call every morning. Talk about a pretty cool story. It wasn't cool at the time. I didn't like waking up at 7 a.m. as a college student.
Did you ever
But,
take down a couple of six-packs and then just
Mike
throw
and I-
steaks in there?
Maybe one day, I saw the movie The Hangover. Who did? I never woke up with a tiger in my room, but I had a tiger right outside my window every morning.
You know what I love about
And luckily,
Louisiana?
Mike Tyson wasn't in my room going, "Why did you steal my tiger?"
That's it. It's an important thing to try to avoid.
Yeah.
What I love about these guys is it seems like the representation of Louisiana. They all know ball.
Yeah.
2, they're kind of involved in it.
No,
Yeah,
Governor
yeah.
Landry
That's
was
what I'm
extremely
saying.
involved. Yeah.
Jeff and I served together in Congress. I translated for him, well, we got these guys over there, this guy's hitting that guy. We go shoot the alligator, And people are like, what the hell did he just say? I don't know what he said, but I want to go with him and do it. And I'm like, we're going to go alligator hunting and eat some good jambalaya. And they're like, I'm in. Look, he's governor now doing a great job. I mean, we brought billions of dollars of investment into Louisiana, but he's a guy that wakes up every day like Trump. He just does stuff every day. He never sleeps. He's nonstop. We got a lot of really good things, exciting things happening in Louisiana. I'm glad that got resolved. But, you look, we're passionate people. We're passionate
As
about
it
our
turns out.
athletics.
Yeah.
We're passionate about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Passionate about food, passionate about, music. But we love what's great about our culture in Louisiana. But I think most people do. You look again, we might have Tulane University, which is in my district, in the Final 12. But, you look at the schools that are in the top 5, those states love their college
for sure.
athletics too. And, we're working on we're walking and chewing gum. We're working on healthcare. We're working on affordability. We're working on housing costs and, energy costs. We passed a lot of bills to lower energy costs, and you're seeing those prices already start coming down. Love to see them come down more. We're producing more energy in America. We're exporting it to our allies. So Russia and other bad nations like Iran don't do that. So, we're working on a lot of things right now. It's going to be a busy month. The rest of this year, where it's almost over, but we have a lot still that we want to do.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Trump. and it's a Thursday in Washington, D.C., and so the New York Times decided to write another article trying to take him down a peg.
Unreal, these guys. Yeah, they hate him so much, and
They
they
do.
hate his success. That's, I think, what they're jealous of, that he's been so successful. When Joe Biden, the auto pen, Joe Biden didn't even know what he was doing because there was an auto pen doing so much of it. But I mean, this guy doesn't sleep. He'll call me at 7 a.m. on a Sunday. You hear from him at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I bet you love that.
President Trump has been the funnest guy to work with. But I'll tell you, he's engaged, because he might want to talk to you about something, but you might bring 2 or 3 things up to him. And he's familiar with those things too. So he understands what's going on in all of the different areas of, you saw the cabinet meeting yesterday. How many times has he had cabinet meetings in public view?
Yeah,
I don't think Biden had one.
Yeah.
He has them like once a month, and they go on for 2 hours.
Or
and
5.
Trump is engaged. He knows what each cabinet secretary is doing. And it's like that on legislation. I mean, when we're moving the one big beautiful bill, the working families tax cut, it was a tough bill to pass because, again, 1 vote majority most of the time we were moving that bill through. And I mean, anybody has a bad day, they're like, okay, I'm voting no, the bill might go down. Well, we weren't going to let it. Failure was never going to be an option. But Trump was like, Steve, give me names. I will. And he would call them. He would call 5 people, an hour before the vote that were on the fence. And all 5 of them, I can tell you this, voted yes. on
It's
the
a hell
bill.
of a tool to have in your
He
in
is
your,
our
quiver.
best salesman. He's our best closer because he cares about getting this country back on track. And he knows the details, too. He can get in the weeds with you if you want. But he also loves the country, and you see that passion every day. And it's sad that people hate him for that. The fact that he's getting done what he said. He ran on very specific things. I mean, I'm going to secure the border, no tax on tips. It's all done.
Right.
Yeah.
All done
Right.
in like his first 3 months. And so if somebody hates him for that, would they hate America? I mean, this guy's delivering for America on the things that he was elected by 77 million people to do.
It's well said. I think as you look forward, obviously, there are components about the challenges of a midterm that are coming up. I mean, look, the historical challenges of having a unified government where you're in charge of it, it typically doesn't go well, right? I think you guys have surfed into that wave here in the recent history and been able to overperform expectations in the House. But as you look out at 2026, how do you feel?
Yeah, it's always going to be a tough year, when you look at history. You mentioned it. I mean, history is never good for the party in power in that first midterm. This Congress is anything but traditional. We have defied gravity on so many levels, and obviously we expect to and want to and are working to it. You don't just hope for good things to happen. You work your tail off. We're working to deliver for the American people. I mean, obviously we've done some big things already. There's more we want to do. And everybody's, I know the buzzword today is affordability, but it's really, do you have more money in your pocket today? Do you feel better about how things are going in the country today than a year ago and 3-4 years ago when Joe Biden was there? And that's ultimately the question next year. I sure know what I feel because I see what we're doing, and I've already seen how it's making an impact. We've seen tens of billions of dollars per state come in new investment per state. You're talking about hundreds of billions, if not over $1 trillion, in new manufacturing plants being announced in America since Donald Trump took office. And this Congress came in and set better rules of the game. We set better tax policy, by the way, not giving new tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, saying nobody's taxes will go up. Only 3 people got a tax cut. You'll never hear that from the mainstream media, the old millionaires and billionaires. No tax on tips. Average pay, by the way, $32,000 a year. Elon Musk is not working for tips, But the single mom may be working 2 shifts at the diner. That's going to be $1,500 more in her pocket by the end of this year. It's retroactive to January, but a lot of people won't really see it till they file their returns in April of next year. They're going to get a lot of money back, by the way. No tax on overtime. Who's that? Again, not millionaires and billionaires. Even if a millionaire's working for overtime, he's not eligible. But the guy making $70,000, $80,000, $60,000 a year, he's not going to pay tax. He'll pay taxes on his regular income. But if he's away from his family, working an extra 12 hours, 15 hours to help his company, he's going to be able to get all of that money in his pocket, buy extra Christmas gifts in a few weeks for his kids. That's real money for those people. And the third new tax break we gave was for senior citizens. Again, capped at an income level, but 85% of seniors will, in essence, pay no tax on their Social Security.
Yeah.
That was a Bill Clinton tax put in place that President Trump said, I want to get rid of. And we put a new tax credit in place for seniors. They're going to see that when they file their returns. So those are real benefits for real people, not to mention no tax increases on anybody. Every Democrat, by the way, voted to raise your taxes 30%.
for sure.
There's a real contrast going into next year.
Yep.
What kind of America do we want versus Democrats? You know, the Mondami wing of the party. They want socialism. They want higher taxes. They want more regulations, which means, by the way, you are paying more money at the grocery store for everything you buy because of all the crazy regulations. We're bringing a permitting reform bill. By the way, we've worked really hard to make it bipartisan, but you're going to see in the next few weeks a bipartisan permitting reform bill.
Important to your
that
state.
will not only allow
and
us to build
everywhere.
more things in America, but it'll allow us to lower costs. Why does it cost so much money for things? If you want to build a road, a bridge, a pipeline from Pennsylvania, where they can actually frack and produce oil and natural gas, into New York, where they don't allow it. So you have to bring it in on a tanker from a foreign country. How nuts is that policy?
Crazy.
But imagine if you could have permitting reform, and then all of a sudden you can not only build things, but build them in 2 years instead of 10 years because people aren't abusing the Endangered Species Act. And there's some mouse nobody's ever heard of. And people are like, I don't even find the thing. Like, you know, they don't even exist anymore, but they're using it and filing lawsuits. I mean, we
If it's all the same, we'd prefer to have an economy.
It'd just be, you know, how about we actually allow people to build stuff and care about the endangered American worker and bring them back? I think more people would rather bring them back. And so we're working on bills to do all of those things. That lowers costs. It brings more jobs to America, but it also lowers costs. It allows us to build things quicker, too, by the way.
I know you guys are also working on a lot as it comes to healthcare.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could just tell people a little bit about what to expect. You know, there's so much speculation out there. There's been so much written in the media, and it's hard to know what to believe. What did House Republicans?
Yeah, there's
push
some real exciting things coming. But for anybody that really went through the scars of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, they named it, by the
staring at
way.
a couple of them.
Anybody want to make the argument that it's affordable? You know, that's one of the big lies. It's like the Inflation Reduction Act. The Democrats love naming things the opposite of what they are. Inflation Reduction Act jacked up inflation. Democrats did the Affordable Care Act. What happened? 80% premium increases on families since that bill became law. No Republican voted for it because we knew, number one, it would jack up costs for families, higher health care costs. It also destroyed the doctor-patient relationship. We have more doctors in Congress now because a lot of them had to leave the practice of medicine because it didn't work. What we want to do is not spend hundreds of billions of dollars to insurance companies, by the way, which is the Democrats' plan. So they want to prop up insurance companies, mask the high cost of the Unaffordable Care Act. And oh, by the way, you still will pay higher premiums. We want to lower premiums and give families options. So we're bringing a number of bills to the floor in the next few weeks.
Wow.
Not next year. I'm talking about
really? In December?
the next few weeks. This may be breaking news. And so I've been meeting out this morning. I was meeting with the Doctors Caucus. I met with every different group, along with the three chairmen of the committees of jurisdiction. Energy and Commerce have been working on a lot of really big things. Ways and Means Committee, the Education and Workforce Committee have all been working on different pieces to do things like association health plans. We've been hearing from small businesses for years. Why can't we just pull together and get the buying power of a big Fortune 500 company? Well, there's laws that prevent it. We knock that down. We allow you want to go to Sam's or Costco. You're an individual. You're not even an owner of a small business. You can buy into a good plan that you want or let the Geico lizard go sell you, in health insurance, because now there will be competition. There's no competition in health insurance. Really no transparency either. Imagine bringing those elements in. Even look at the Obamacare tax credits that everybody talks about, not the ones that are expiring. How about the ones that still exist? You're trapped only looking at an Affordable Care Act plan that you cannot afford. How about if you made that flexible and said, hey, we're going to roll that into a health savings account, and then you can go shop it around and buy a better plan. You want to stay in Obamacare? That's your choice. I think a lot of people would love to get out of it, but they're trapped right now. Imagine if you said that money, taxpayer money, can now be flexible to go anywhere, and everybody's going to compete for your business and want you to move to a lower cost plan for you and your family, maybe a lower deductible. How about we allow those kind of things to happen? We've got bills to do that. Other things on lowering prescription drug costs. We're going to be bringing bills to the floor in the next few weeks to do exactly that. Wow. So we've been putting that together for a few weeks. Again, doing a lot of things, walking and chewing gum. A lot of committees are working on all of these issues. You're going to see these votes. I'll love to see where Democrats are going to be on those votes, by the way.
Yeah.
Lowering healthcare costs and
guess.
giving families options. Is that what they're going to vote for? Are they going to just vote to bail out the big insurance companies and continue to trap you in a plan you don't like?
Yeah, the existence of Donald Trump, I think I know exactly where they're going to, anything he'll sign, they're going to oppose. I remember when Johnny and I were working to oppose Obamacare, and we called around various states and hospitals. And we're like, let's just do a test. We'll call around and just ask what an X-ray costs.
Oh, my gosh.
Right? So we picked the
You should
phone.
have videoed that.
I mean, it was unbelievable. In this day and age, we could have. Back then, it was like, we were fairly primitive. But we called and asked, 4 or 5 different hospitals, different states all over the country. And everybody said, well, what plan are you on? And you're like, doesn't matter? Like, what's the price? What's the price of the X-ray? And then we couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the point that you're getting.
Shouldn't you be able to get a
at.
cash price?
Yeah.
Let alone if you have insurance, it's this, or if you have Medicare, it's that, or cash. Why not have price transparency? You get it for everything else. I mean, people will literally drive across 5 lanes of traffic to get 2 cents less in gasoline because you see it right there on the board.
Right.
Imagine if you could shop like that for healthcare. And there's so many things in healthcare that are really, really not designed to help the consumer. And so imagine opening some of that up. And obviously, we're going to have some big fights over this because the Democrats, when they created Obamacare, you could see it. They wanted to have a single-payer government-run system.
Yeah.
They didn't care about how it worked. I mean, go to Europe where they do this. You're waiting 5 years for a basic procedure. People die waiting for procedures.
And they all show up at the Mayo Clinic or wherever else trying to do.
We had a provision in the Working Families Tax Cut that was scored by CBO to lower premiums in health insurance by 12.7%. Lower premiums. Democrats fought to get that removed from the bill. They don't care about lower premiums. By the way, we're bringing that back too. It's called cost share reductions. Coming back, 12.7% lower premiums. Democrats want to vote against it. That's their business.
Excellent.
Let them go explain why they don't care about families having lower costs. I don't hear people going, hey, I just want a higher subsidy for my unaffordable care plan. What they say is I want better options, and I want a lower cost. And how about we give that to them? So we're going to be bringing those bills to the floor.
Let me ask you just 2 quick things here before we go as it relates to the midterms. One, the redistricting discussion. Obviously, it started with Texas. We got California. Now you hear about Virginia. We've got the situation that it was in Indiana. As you're looking out here on the map, we're all optimistic that this thing will sort itself out in one form or another. Did we make a sort of a strategic error here in getting into this mid-decade district redistricting discussion? I mean, are we going to come up with the short end of the stick, or is this just what Democrats do no matter what?
Decades, states have done mid-decade redistricting for a long time. Yeah. Democrat states have done it. Republican states have done it. This time it'll probably be a wash. Maybe Republicans might net 1 or 2 more seats.
Okay.
Net.
Yeah.
When you factor in California and other states. Regardless,
what
we're focused on for the midterms is you look at the 13 seats Donald Trump won that are held by Democrats. And these are Democrats that won by maybe a point or 2.
Yeah.
Trump might have won by 5. Those are districts trending our way. We've already got one we're favored right now, Maine.
Yeah.
Where Jared Golden announced he's retiring because we got Governor LePage, former Republican governor,
how they find another line
to
of
announce
work,
he's running, and then Golden's like, okay, I'm retiring. We're going to flip that seat. There are seats like that we're going to flip regardless of redistricting. And a lot of it is because the Democrat Party has left so many people. They don't stand for working people anymore. Yeah. They want socialism. They want Marxism. There's a niche of 20% maybe, the Mandami wing of the party. The rest of America doesn't want that. And that's all the Democrats have right now. They're going to talk about fake issues. They'll talk about, that they'll act like they care about cost of living for people when they jacked it up.
Well, this is what I wanted to get into on the messaging.
If you like what you have, you can keep it.
Yeah.
Who told that's the biggest lie in all of politics, which is a big thing to say. That was the Democrats' lie on Obamacare. They said, everybody's going to get a $2,500 reduction in their health insurance.
Yeah,
80% increases later, they're still lying about health care. So they're going to make up lies about all of this stuff. At the end of the day, we got to keep delivering on what we've been working on. Lower energy costs already. Let's lower insurance costs in health care. Let's lower more costs even more at the grocery store. We're working on all of those things. President Trump already brought down the price of eggs dramatically. They don't talk about that anymore. Why? Because he fixed it. But, we're not going to get complacent. We have a lot more work we want to do because we want people to be really fired up. Not just saying they're horrible, saying, look at the good things we've done, but let's keep that progress going. We can do more good things. Democrats, if they get the majority, you look at who's going to be chairman of their committees, for goodness sake, let alone what they're going to be focused on. Impeachment, hatred of Donald Trump, vendettas.
We already know.
It's what they did last time. They'll do it again. Yeah. They don't care about workers.
I want to compliment you because I think, look, it's easy when you're in a party of incumbent power and you've gotten the amount of success done that you have in a relatively short amount of time. There is a sort of tendency to try to defend everything that you've done and not have a prospective outlook on it. And I think that's the trap of being in power, is that you are talking about how all these great things that you've done, but nobody in a midterm election is satisfied with status quo. They want to know where you're going. Everything you just talked about was forward-looking. And it was what you're going to do next. Listen, if everybody in the conference had that point of view, I have no doubt House Republicans are going to retain a majority.
Well, I feel really bullish on not only us maintaining it, we can grow it. Not going to be a 30-seat majority, just with redistricting those days. Or we could get up to an 8-seat majority.
Yeah.
When you're at a 2-seat majority, an 8-seat is like bananas. We call that wealth of land yap in Louisiana. It's like Mardi Gras every day. But we're going to do it with bold ideas. Let's keep exciting people. When you say, hey, gee whiz, right now you're trapped in Obamacare. Imagine if you could take that money and go buy a plan better somewhere else. We did in the Working Families tax cut. There's so many parts of that great bill that people don't even know about. We're modernizing the air traffic control system. Every Democrat voted no. We did a federal school choice program that's funded by individuals, not federal money, but we create a tax credit system where you can pay in for low-income people, not for millionaires and billionaires, but low-income people who are trapped in failing schools can now have some options, but states have to choose to opt in or out. What's Gavin Newsom going to do? What's Hochul in New York going to do? Is she going to keep her kids that are trapped in failing schools, is she going to keep them trapped there? Or let them have choices? And it's really not them, it's the parents. Those low-income parents are going to finally start looking around going, whoa, wait a minute, I voted for that Democrat 18 times. They're now stopping my kid from getting a better education. Now it's personal. And so that choice is coming next year. So it's not something you see today because it takes effect next year. Let's wait till those governors have that choice to make. I know where my governor, Jeff Landry, I can speak for. We're going to let those parents have that choice.
And 2 crawfish dinners.
Yes, and 2 crawfish dinners. And it'll be better than anything you're going to get when Gavin Newsom will probably tell 3 different versions of a lie on that because he won't answer the question. And by not answering the question, he's answering the question. So let everybody have that choice, but we put those things in place. And when we go to voters and say, we're going to keep fighting for you with these kind of ideas, not, hey, we secured the border. People are like, all right, I'm very excited. You secured the border. I'm on to the next thing already. So, we can't be fighting yesterday's victory. Put a trophy up on the wall, but you better be talking about the other things that we want to do, because all they're going to do is just say they hate Donald Trump. They want to burn down cities and defund the police. They still stand for that. They'll try to mask that next year, like they did in that Tennessee special election.
But that is what it is.
Listen, let's keep going and winning. We got to keep delivering, and we're going to. We're not getting complacent.
I love it.
We're hungry.
I love it. Listen, very well done. You guys are doing a great job. Got to get to the end of this year, get everybody's mind right, get back into next year.
Go home
keep
to your
on
families,
digging.
Enjoy some presents. You'll have some extra presents now with better tax policy, and and then let's get into next year and go do some more good things.
You're the man, Steve Scalise.
Great.